Breaking news from the NFL into the Fanfare newsfeed.
Unable to find a trade partner for the four-time Pro Bowl running back, he's been one of the most high-volume backs in the NFL over the past few seasons, as since 2019, only Derrick Henry has had more touches and scrimmage yards than Dalvin Cook. He will also become the fifth player ever to join a new team after having 1,000 rushing yards in each of the prior 4 seasons. Let's begin with Jeff Darlington. And Jeff, what do we know about where Cook and his potential suitors stand as of this moment?
Well, I've got another Dalvin Cook update for you. For some of you, this indeed will be breaking news. For others who have been on Twitter or talked to some other people or been seeing some other YouTube channels, this isn't breaking news. But in any event, here's the news about Dalvin Cook. Nothing has changed. However, Jeff Darlington had some very interesting things to say that we're going to play a video and let you hear exactly from Jeff Darlington, and then we'll talk about it as we react to the words that he said. So let's get to the video.
We're going to begin with Dalvin Cook, who was released by Minnesota after the team was unable to find a trade partner for the four-time Pro Bowl running back. He's been one of the most high-volume backs in the NFL over the past few seasons, as since 2019, only Derrick Henry has had more touches and scrimmage yards than Dalvin Cook. He will also become the fifth player ever to join a new team after having 1,000 rushing yards in each of the prior 4 seasons.
To me, that's a question mark. I don't understand. This guy has been a 1,000-yard runner. He's been prolific. Everybody says he's game-changing. In fact, in this video, you're going to hear somebody remark that he's generational, a generational talent. Then why is he not signed? I mean, there's some teams out there with money. So if all of that is true, which I'm not debating here, why hasn't Dalvin Cook gotten an offer that he wants? Yes, I understand he wants to be paid commensurate with his achievements and his ability, which I guess when there's no market demand for it, they're pretty much telling you what your value is. Now, a lot of things are going to happen in the next 2 weeks. A lot of things. Saquon Barkley's got to go in and do his negotiation. Josh Jacobs got to do his negotiation with the Raiders. Saquon Barkley's looking for a ton of money. I mean, a ton of money. So I'm not sure where this thing's going to shake out, but if we're thinking correctly, Dalvin Cook is waiting to see where the other pieces of the puzzle land before he decides what he's going to take. Obviously, Miami has an offer on the table, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Let's begin with Jeff Darlington. And Jeff, what do we know about where Cook and his potential suitors stand as of this moment?
Well, look, Field, we have nothing urgent right now in terms of Cook's decision because ultimately he still wants to get a little bit closer to training camp to really nail this down. The one thing I would point out is that the Miami Dolphins remain interested. They still have an offer on the table, one, though, that Cook is not willing to accept.
Okay, now that was the breaking news about this. Nobody had really said that yet. They have an offer on the table that Dalvin Cook is not willing to accept. Some people said they knew it. Some people say they've got inside information, which I don't know anything about that. But in any event, the offer's there. He just won't take it.
See him certainly trying to drum up other leverage. He is still interested in joining the Dolphins, but at this point, again, not willing to commit to the deal that they have on the table.
So that's twice he said it. So he said he's not willing to commit to the deal that the Dolphins have on the table. So you got a willing team. The Miami Dolphins said, hey, we'd like to have you. Here's the offer that we want to give to you. Is he looking at it as a lowball offer? I don't know. We don't know the number. We know what he's thinking. We know he's thinking in the neighborhood of 8, 9, 10 million. But obviously, they're a lot lower than that. Maybe with incentives, they can try to get him up. Maybe they can try to incentivize him with the lack of income tax in the state of Florida only. If you understand the tax laws, you still have to pay taxes in the other states that you play. So it only affects them for 8 home games here in Miami. But other than that, they have an offer on the table. More than likely, the Jets have an offer on the table. Maybe the Denver Broncos have an offer on the table. So right now he's sitting in a position where he said, no, I'm not signing any of these offers. I'm going to see what happens with Saquon and possibly Josh Jacobs and see if I can get you guys to come up, which is kind of a weird situation to be in because right now you don't have anybody biting. If Breece Hall comes back from his injury and he looks good, I doubt the Jets move forward. If Breece Hall looks like he's going to have some issues in his recovery, they may up their dollars. But if it's close, it's probably going to end up being a Miami Dolphin. If the numbers are similar, I know he wants to be home. Everybody has said that. I've got no reason to doubt it. I'm not looking at anything other than what the reports have been, that he's a hometown guy that wants to come back down to South Florida, but he doesn't want to give away the farm to get here. So let's continue.
One thing that interests me here, Field, in terms of a timeline is July 17th. That's the deadline for players like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs to get their deals done. It has nothing to do with Dalvin Cook, but if Barkley and Jacobs perhaps could reset the market with a deal of their own, perhaps it would give the Dolphins and Dalvin Cook or another team some idea of what his pay should be. So,
okay, so what he said there, and I'm sure you guys could hear it as clean as day, he wants to see what the other guys get. If he sees that Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley reset the market, he's going to raise his price. Will the teams follow and allow him to raise the price and pay the money he's going to want? He's comparing himself to Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs and trying to up the dollars. Smart move. From his perspective, I would do the same thing. I would try to get as much as I possibly can. You always can go back to the offer on the table. The Dolphins aren't going to pull their offer. It's sitting there, but he wants more money.
Just one little threshold that maybe we should keep an eye on. If that doesn't happen, Cook and the Dolphins would have to work out something on their own.
Finally, now.
And I don't see that being a problem either. Possibly Stephen Ross comes in with a big signing bonus, or the incentives change from a team-friendly incentive base to more of a mutually incentivized contract. So there's a lot of ways to skin this, but it's just moving really slow, really slow.
Now just 10 days away from that deadline that Jeff alluded to, Bahak, as you look at potential suitors for Dalvin Cook, whether it's Miami or somebody else, is there a team that stands out?
You know what, when you're this good, like Dalvin Cook is, every team is a fit. But the team that stands out, the place he...
Well, see, that just makes me think, if, as he just said, when you're that good, Dalvin Cook stands out to every team. So why aren't other teams putting dollars on the table? Or are they waiting for July 17th as well? See, nobody's talking about that. I haven't heard, everybody talks about the Jets. They talk about the Denver Broncos. But what happens on July 17th if that market gets set and other teams say, you know what, we could use Dalvin Cook. We can see now what the market is. Why don't we throw our hand in the mix here? Why not? What happens if Saquon Barkley gets to a point where he just can't cut a deal with the New York Giants and he decides he's going to sit out the season? All of a sudden, the New York Giants are going to need him back. I don't hear anybody talking about that.
He should go. The best fit for him and where he's at in his career is the Miami Dolphins. He is a fantastic runner in this zone offense. And Mike McDaniel, everywhere that he's been when he was a run game coordinator, an offensive coordinator, and now the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, they run this concept very, very well.
Now, I say this a lot, and people get pissed off at me. That name on the bottom there, Raheem Mostert, and the other name that's not being shown is Jeff Wilson. Both went for 4.9 per carry last year. Do you need to keep chasing somebody, or do you have somebody in-house that might get it done? I know there's a ton of fans who are like, we got to have Cook. We must have Cook. But Raheem Mostert impressed me last year.
And then with the talent they have on the outside, it just becomes a very well-rounded attack that actually opened things up for Cook. I think about when Kyle Shanahan went to the Atlanta Falcons, and you've seen what the development of Matt Ryan looked like and how great of a season he had. In this offense, specifically with McDaniel, decent running backs look good running backs look great, and great running backs look generational.
Now, I love that. Decent running backs look good running backs look great, and great running backs look generational. So he's saying that Dalvin Cook is a generational talent, which goes back to the same question I've been saying. If he's potentially a generational talent, meaning once in a decade, once in every 2 decades, why isn't anybody else bidding on him? If I knew I had a once in a generational type of back available to me, if I was another team, wouldn't I get in the race here and say, listen, hey, this is a generational talent. Let me see if I can't put my money on the table. I think there are other suitors out there. Obviously, you're going to have to go over and above Miami, maybe a couple million above Miami. maybe 2.5, 3 million above Miami to get him to come to you. But if Miami's only at 4 or 5 million and somebody says, I'll do 8, I think his head's going to turn. I think he's going to say, wait a second, really? And there's a couple teams out there that could use a back who's generational and have the money, but there's no reason to basically come out and say it right now because he's still waiting. He's still waiting. He's waiting for July 17th. Watch what happens with Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. That's just what I'm saying.
Well, I agree. I think the Miami Dolphins is a really good fit. He'd be a complimentary football player for him. 15 snaps a game. The way Mike McDaniels calls his offense, they always need running backs in this sense that can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. And on third down, this team needs to improve on third down. They were 24th in the National Football League in third down situations. So
I don't know how many of you guys knew that Miami was towards the end of the pack, towards the bottom of the league on third down last year. Now, that's partly McDaniel's play calls. That's partly, we know what happened with Tua, but I don't think you can blame that on Raheem Mostert or Jeff Wilson. I think a lot of it had to do with the play calling. Will that improve with somebody like Dalvin Cook? Can't hurt.
He's a situational player for him. He's playing on the grass. He's playing in good weather. He has an offense with complementary players around him. So this would be a good fit.
And of course, he is from the South Florida area. Nothing like playing in front of the home crowd.
So no doubt, everything makes sense for Dalvin Cook to be in South Florida, except what matters most. What matters most to him is the dollars. So are they going to be able to solve that problem? Are they going to be able to come up and get to a point where he's like, yeah, I'm going to come to Miami? I don't know. We'll see very soon. Let me know what you think. I know a lot of you guys love the aspect of having Dalvin Cook in the backfield, but would you be terribly upset if Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Devon Achane were the backs that Miami Dolphins had to go with? Let me know what you think. Fins up.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?